Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. All right, guys, today I'm going to be giving you guys my top 10 tight end rankings for the 2023 season. And I'm going to start right here with the first player on my list, Travis Kelce. No surprise, right? This guy is the consensus tight end one for any format across any platform. There's nobody that has Travis Kelce outside of the tight end one, and they shouldn't. Look, this year this guy has been historically dominant. He's the best pass-catching tight end of all time for fantasy purposes. Last year led the league in targets, red zone targets, receptions, receiving yards, touchdowns, the whole shebang. This dude should be the first tight end off the board, and he's the only tight end that you can justify taking in the first round. So Travis Kelce is my easy number one. Now, moving on to my number two. A lot of people might be surprised by this, but I really don't know why you would be. Darren Waller is my number two. Now, Darren Waller, you look at his last two seasons where he played a full healthy season. We've got the 2019 season. He had 1,146 receiving yards on 565 yards after the catch. So he was second in the league in receiving yards and second in the league in yards after the catch back in that 2019 season. He was absolutely dominant. This is the best run after catch tight end in the entire NFL, even better than Travis Kelce. This dude could run after the catch like nobody's business because he's 6'6", 250 pounds, runs a 4.5. He's the ultimate athletic specimen at the tight end position. And people are forgetting about this dude because they haven't seen him play a full season in 2 years. But that's all just recency bias nonsense. You look at his other season before he had his two injury seasons in a row, 2020, 1,196 receiving yards, second in the NFL on 562 yards after the catch, first in the NFL. This dude literally created half his yards on yards after the catch. This dude is tremendously athletic. He's a dominant athletic specimen, elite in the open field. This dude can make plays, and he's now going to be the number one target hog for the New York Giants. They don't really have a set, clear number one wide receiver. They have a lot of receivers that could step up into that role, but the main pass catcher on this team is going to be Darren Waller. And whether or not Saquon holds out, this affects it a little bit in either direction. Look, I actually think that if Saquon holds out, Darren Waller could just see an absolutely obscene target share, but the offense might have some problems as far as their efficiency. So I actually like it better if Saquon does play because, you know, it's going to help the offense move the ball, give Darren Waller higher touchdown upside, and make his quality of targets better. But Saquon or no Saquon, I absolutely love Darren Waller this year. I think he's going to be the tight end 2 on the season, so I have him higher than most. Number 3 is going to be a massive surprise, but I have Dalton Kincaid. Now, a lot of people don't want to rank Dalton Kincaid very highly because he hasn't played an NFL snap. Understandable. But what we've got to keep in mind is that the tight end position was absolutely starving for production last year. There were very few tight ends that actually stepped up. So I don't see why a rookie couldn't come in and dominate and take over and be one of the top tight ends in the league. I mean, you look at this guy, he's going to be lining up out of the slot and treated as a slot wide receiver a lot of the times. He's kind of that new age tight end where they're going to line him up out of the slot. They're going to move him around a little bit more, use his athleticism. We know that this dude combines, route running ability, quickness, ability to get open downfield, physical dominance, contested catch ability. And this dude's probably going to see a pretty elite target share because if you look at the offense, they have been starving for that number 2 pass catcher for a long time now. They force feed Stephon Diggs. That's how they run the entire offense. And then they give Gabe Davis 3 to 5, maybe 6 targets a game. And a lot of those are deep balls because they just chuck the ball downfield more than anybody. Dalton Kincaid is going to have a seriously elite target share as a rookie. Look, we've seen this trend in fantasy in recent years. Rookies can come out and dominate in their first year. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Saquon. We've seen it in recent years. A rookie can come out and be one of the best players at their position. That's absolutely what Dalton Kincaid's going to do because he is going to be a tight end that's going to see weeks where he sees 8 to 10 targets in this Buffalo Bills offense, and those are obviously high-value targets because of how good the offense is. The touchdown upside is through the roof. He's got all the talent in the world. People are drawing comparisons to him and Travis Kelce. I think that's a little bit bold, but it's a side that this dude can be a seriously elite tight end. I have him as my number 3 tight end. The value for this player right now is absolutely insane. He's my most owned player on Underdog Fantasy. The dude's absolutely going to explode. Don't have any hesitation to draft him as your tight end 1, and if you're one of those people that likes to wait on tight ends, he's perfect because you can get him as like the 12th or 13th tight end off the board. Next player on my list is going to be TJ Hawkinson. Now, this guy, obviously, another dominant athletic specimen, 6'5", 250 pounds. He's quick. The dude saw a ton of targets last year. I mean, 129 targets. He saw 10 deep targets, which was 5th in the NFL. And it didn't matter which team he was on. He started the season with the Lions, then he went to the Vikings. He was a target hog in both offenses. He was a massive target hog as the season went along for the Vikings. So, this guy can see a very healthy target share and easily be the second most targeted pass catcher in the offense after Justin Jefferson. And we know that Kirk Cousins is a guy that throws for 4,000 yards plus like every single season. So there's tons of yardage to go around overall in this offense. So I love TJ Hawkinson. I think the dude's going to be really good. Now, in my personal opinion, his ADP is too high right now, so I'm avoiding him in most leagues. But I do think he is going to be one of the best tight ends in fantasy this season. Next player on my list is going to be Mark Andrews. Now, I had to drop Mark Andrews a little bit because if you look at his history with the team and you look at when Marquise Brown was on the team. This dude didn't have anywhere near the target share that he had last season in all the years with Marquise Brown. The best year he had as far as a target share percentage perspective with Marquise Brown, he had a 26.6% team target share. In the other seasons, it was more like 24, 25%. And that was just only with having one elite wide receiver in the offense. Right? So his first year without Marquise Brown, he has a 29% team target share. Obviously, this is going to drop massively. We don't just have one stud wide receiver in this offense now. We've got Odell Beckham, Zay Flowers, and Rashad Bateman. So that's so many other targets to go around for all these other wide receivers. So while Mark Andrews could still provide you some of those high ceiling weeks, even that's still a maybe. I'm a lot more down on him this year than a lot of people are. I don't see why you wouldn't take a tight end that's going to be more target dominant in their offense. And if you look at Mark Andrews, he doesn't really have the most elite run after catch abilities. He has to have that target share to dominate, whereas guys like Darren Waller, Travis Kelce, guys like this can dominate no matter what their target share is because they can run after the catch, right? And so not only are these guys that I have ranked ahead of Mark Andrews potentially going to be a bigger target hog as far as target share percentage in their offense, they also have better run after the catch ability. So why would I take a tight end with a lesser target share and lesser run after catch abilities just because he was great last year and everybody likes to copy and paste? Guys, I'm avoiding Mark Andrews at his ADP, but I do have him finishing as the 5th best tight end in fantasy this season. Next player on my list is going to be George Kittle. Now, George Kittle's obviously very much going to determine, which quarterback are we going to see, right? Is it going to be Brock Purdy? Is it going to be Sam Darnold? Is it going to be Trey Lance? Because these things all greatly change the outcome of George Kittle. That's why he's one of the most polarizing positions in fantasy right now. And I'm typically avoiding him in underdog drafts because you've got to get him in the, early to mid rounds. And I just don't like this because, look, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be, right? If Brock Purdy is going to be the quarterback, that is awesome for George Kittle. He has the upside to be the tight end too after Travis Kelce, if that's the case. But he needs that, right? Because Trey Lance, a mobile quarterback, isn't going to throw to George Kittle as much. And we have no idea if Sam Darnold is going to favor George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. There's just so many question marks regarding the quarterback position that it makes him really hard to draft in underdog drafts. But mark my words, if we got training camp coming up. If Brock Purdy is named the starter, this dude needs to be a priority in drafts because he has seriously elite upside. If Trey Lance somehow ends up starting for this team, I don't like George Kittle nearly as much. That's why it's very tough to navigate George Kittle right now. So I have him as my sixth best tight end right now. But obviously, if Brock Purdy's named the starting quarterback, he has the upside to be way better than this. Next player on my list is going to be Dallas Goedert. Now, Dallas Goedert last year, 19.4% team target share, which is the best target share he's ever seen in a season. That's the only reason I don't have Dallas Goedert higher, because if you look at this dude, he's a tremendously talented football player. Of all the tight ends I have on this list, he is one of the most talented ones. I mean, this dude has insane run after the catch abilities, 702 receiving yards last year, 425 of those were run after the catch. But the problem is this. The best target share he's ever seen is 19.4%. You now add DeAndre Swift to this offense, so that's even more targets that are going to be thrown out of the backfield. Look, I understand that Jalen Hurts is a mobile quarterback, so that means probably not as many targets for DeAndre Swift as he was getting in the Lions offense, but he's still going to see 4 to 5 targets a game. You've got Devontae Smith becoming more and more of a target hog. A.J. Brown is going to command a ton of targets. I don't see how Dallas Goedert has any chance of having a legitimate, healthy enough target share this year to finish as a top-tier tight end. So, he's definitely in a tier below some of these other guys that I have ahead of him, because I just don't think the target share is going to be good enough. Now, obviously, he's in a very good offense, but he would basically have to get really, really lucky with scoring a ton of touchdowns in order to be as good as these tight ends that I have ahead of him. And I just don't see that happening because there's just too many mouths to feed. Next player on my list is going to be David Njoku. Now, David Njoku, super athletic. Last year, he actually was second in the league in red zone targets with 20 red zone targets. This dude is an absolute target hog in the red zone because this team does not have any wide receivers above the height of 6'2". So, you have a 6'4" tight end. He's obviously going to dominate the target share in the red zone. On top of that, he had 628 receiving yards, 8th in the league, 18.6% team target share. This team is going to be awesome with Deshaun Watson. And so I think that the addition of Elijah Moore to the offense might cause David Njoku to lose a little bit of target share percentage-wise. He might have more like, 16, 17% as opposed to 18.6, but the target quality is going to be way better, and he's going to have some seriously high touchdown upside in this offense because when this team gets in the red zone, he is going to be their main target hog because of his ability to create separation in his routes, his size, his contested catch abilities. This dude has some serious upside, and there's some pretty darn good tight ends this year, so I couldn't have him too high on my list, but he is my number 8 overall. Next player on my list is going to be Pat Freimuth. Now, Pat Freimuth last year, 98 targets, 5th in the NFL, 12 deep targets, 3rd in the NFL. This dude is very good, but this is one of the most questionable offenses in the entire NFL. And the reason I say questionable and not bad is because they might be good. They might be average. They might suck. This offense is such a wild card, right? They have the weapons to have some pretty serious upside, but they also might just not be good at all, right? It's really hard to navigate what the Pittsburgh Steelers offense is going to be like. So is he going to have good touchdown upside? I'm not so sure, right? I just don't know. So Pat Freimuth is pretty polarizing at this point, but we know that this is a tremendously talented tight end who will be one of the bigger target hogs in the league as far as his overall reception count. So he's easily a top 10 tight end going into this year because he's going to be an absolute target hog at a position where targets are scarce. So Pat Freimuth is a totally draftable tight end. I'm not taking too much of him in underdog drafts, but he does need to be mixed in. Next player on my list is going to be Kyle Pitts. Now, Kyle Pitts is like Darren Waller 2.0, basically 6'6", 250 pounds, runs a 4.49. Very similar athletic intangibles to Darren Waller. And we know what kind of ceiling this dude possesses because of his tremendous athleticism. And you look at his 2 seasons. I mean, back in 2021, his first full year, 4th in yards per route run efficiency. So what happens? He sees a major target share bump the following season. He went from a 21% target share in 2021, where he actually had a pretty darn good season, to a 27% target share last year and somehow wasn't good. The reasons for this is because a 27% target share in the Falcons offense isn't as good as a 27% target share in other offenses because they throw a lot less passes than most other teams. So while 27% sounds like a lot, it's more like that's the equivalent of like a 24% target share in another offense that throws more passes. So the 27% target share where it looks really good didn't equate for that many overall targets. I mean, he did see 59 targets, which isn't bad for a tight end position, but it's certainly not good. And he only had 28 receptions. So he was able to catch a ball on less than half of the balls that were thrown his way. So there's a lot of question marks with Kyle Pitts right now, but he certainly has the upside. And while I think that he's an extremely risky pick because I don't know how he's going to function in this offense, and I don't know if he's going to, look, the dude's only scored 3 touchdowns in his first 2 seasons, right? Is he going to get in the end zone enough to be relevant? I don't know. But he's good enough to creep into my top 10 because we have to acknowledge that, he's a guy that he comes out and he has an incredibly high ceiling because it's Kyle Pitts. He's tremendously athletic, and this offense has some sneaky upside. All right, guys, those are my top 10 tight ends. Appreciate it. Catch you later.